I've said it once and I'll say it again. August was packed with too many games, both big and small. I was lucky enough to get treated to a plethora of review codes in August. Due to my writing workload, a lot of them got a little buried. So here are 4 games that came out in August that you probably missed along with me. They're not all gems, but they do deserve some exposure. Let's begin with Road 96. It's a modern adventure game with some roguelike elements. It's actually better to call it more of a modern take on the Oregon Trail. The main goal of the game is to cross the border into free territory. You're stuck in what seems like a bureaucratic nightmare land in the middle of a revolution. Teens are suppressed and keep disappearing. You play several teens throughout the adventure, all with the same goal in mind, more or less. The constant, besides the goal, are the NPCs you can interact with. Certain choices will branch the narrative and reveal more about said characters. By the end of the game, you should have a pretty firm grasp on what's going on with these characters and the world. It's a neat concept that is saved thanks to these characters, but the gameplay and look of Road 96 are pretty janky, at least from what I played on the Switch. Next, we have Demons of Asteborg, which is a throwback to the Sega Genesis era of action platformers. No, really, the company even released a cartridge for this game, so the inspirations are very clear. You star as the warrior Gareth, who must stop Zadimus from destroying the land. Even the names sound like they came from the 90s. The aspect ratio is set up to look like a 4x3 tube TV. As cool as a game like this is in terms of a throwback, it doesn't do much to feel more than a novelty. It's one of those types of games that only one friend had, but that friend swore by it back in the day. You know the kind. Heck, we all have games like that in our collections. I dug it from a nostalgia perspective, but that's about it. Moving on, we have a re-release, Spelunky II. It came out last year on PlayStation, but returns now, along with its predecessor, on Switch. This is kind of a cheat since this is 2 games, and they're both not that obscure, but hey, these are great games and should be highlighted since ports don't get as much recognition years or even months after the original release. Does that make sense? Defensive stances aside, there's not much new to report as they are really just ports, but they are still really good ones at that. So first, some backstory. I absolutely loved the first game in college. I played it a lot on my PS3, I never beat it though, but that's okay. I enjoyed it more like an arcade game akin to Pac-Man. In my mind, Spelunky is a game that is not supposed to be beat, or at least that wasn't my goal. I think that holds true for this sequel as well. It really is just more of the same. I kind of wish that there were some more radical jumps between the original and this. For example, I would have liked to see more progression carry over, or assisted modes to help cater to all types of gamers out there. Even if it is brutally hard and continues to not be for everyone, I do admire Mossmouth for sticking to their guns and just making more Spelunky. Now, I saved the worst for last with Foreclosed. I wanted to love this game so hard based on the trailers. It's a cyberpunk spiritual successor to 13, a shooter from the PS2 era. It has cel shading, an inner monologue, and comic book style panels. Aesthetically, this game is stunning and unique to look at. Unfortunately, everything else about the game is a drag. The basic gist is a big corporation is after some experimental implants they put into you. Now you're on the run trying to investigate the truth. The story is not that compelling, but worst of all, the shooting feels like the prototype of a prototype. Everything about this game screams, I'm a demo. There is a cool game here, but the execution just was not fully realized, and I would be hard-pressed to recommend it in any capacity. And that, I'm afraid, is that. Again, not all these games get high recommendations from me, but I still had fun exploring them. With the obvious exception being Spelunky II and the original Spelunky being very clear winners. But, all these games have some rough edges around them, like, maybe being too hard. Spelunky 2 is not going to be for everyone either, even though it's recognized as a solidly built game. Some people just aren't going to like how challenging it is. So maybe even a game like Foreclosed will be for somebody. I don't know. But for me, that's all. Thank you once again for watching. Did you like that video? If you did, please like, subscribe, and spread the good word of ReActionExaminer. If you want to read more of my stuff, you can find a plethora of my articles over at TheGamer and Game Rant. All of those links and more are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching!